So Gary McKeaton, he's a CASE alumnus, and he is also our amateur radio volunteer community coordinator for HamSCI, and he has taken on a tremendous amount of the project management roles for HamSCI and has really helped things to, without you, things would not have happened. So thank you. So Gary's going to serve as our first chair, and he's going to introduce our first speaker, Bill Engelke. Devin, you can get Bill his microphone, and I will turn this microphone over to Gary, and I will put Bill's presentation on the screen.
Great, thank you, Nathaniel. I'd like to echo others' comments. Welcome to my hometown. Welcome to my alma mater. And the only thing I'd like to know is, where do 40 years go? I mean, it's hard to believe. Jim and I graduated 40 years ago come spring. But anyhow, I was very excited to be asked to chair this first session on the personal space weather station for a couple of reasons. I've got a personal connection, like many of you. I've got a Grape One running at home. But actually, I want to say I've done a lot of Zoom conferences with radio clubs at HamFest and whatnot, explaining HamSCI, what our projects are, mostly around the eclipse. And one rhetorical question I always ask my audiences, I said, who wouldn't want to own a personal space weather station? I mean, talk about being the envy of your friends and neighbors. What a fantastic tool. Anyhow, let's get it going. I'd like to welcome our first speaker, Bill Engelke, AB4EJ from the University of Alabama, talking about the PSWS network. Bill?
Do we have sound? Sound okay? Okay, good. I'll come back here so we don't get so much feedback. Well, as Gary mentioned, I'm Alpha Bravo 4 Echo Juliet with the University of Alabama, Roll Tide, and I've been first licensed in maybe '66, but I use a different, when we have that as an exchange in a contest, I use a different year each time to keep them guessing. And some people maintain their own database of exchanges, which kind of doesn't seem fair, but anyway. Everything okay? Okay.
No, we're flipping the presentation and the full screen mode on.
Okay, all right. So, as most of you know, we've been working on a personal space weather station network, and that is a website that we use to collect all of the data that's collected by the digital RF grapes, and we're also collecting data from a number of the Tapper magnetometers, and now also we've added to the stable a number of RX888, which is a software-defined receiver that's been worked on by, we'll talk about that in a moment, but what we're gonna, let me see, page down. Okay. Let's see, there it is. So we have an NSF-sponsored project here, and we're rolling out this network of personal space weather stations, which may consist of a magnetometer and or one or more software-defined receivers. Main thing there is with the receivers, we're observing minute changes in the frequency that is caused by Doppler shift of WWV, and that to get that kind of precision requires a GPS disciplined oscillator to use as a clock. And John Gibbons is going to talk about the upcoming new system. That's he and his team developed the first Grape ones, the legacy system, and the digital RF based system that's just added digital RF data format. And so today I'm going to talk a little bit about the website development status and some recent results. So if you've been following this project for a while, you may remember that in the last HamSCI meeting, which as I recall was at University of Scranton, we were planning to do all this. We had the website was in preparation, and I'm proud to say that we have that up and running, and we were able to collect data for the annular eclipse that was in October, and we think we are ready for the upcoming total eclipse coming in a couple of weeks. We built and deployed 35 Grape One digital RF stations. That was done by the New England Grape Group, several independent builders, help from John Gibbons again. Thank you very much, John. There are also a number of FL Digi Grape 1 still operating as well. We do not have those tied into the personal space for the station network server. A Grape 2 is in its final preparation. I think, John, John is going to discuss that in a few minutes. So we've also deployed about 15 RX888 base DRF stations. Rob Robinette and his team with KA9Q software have put that together, and most of those are up and running very nicely. So what the University of Alabama did was he stood up a website to collect the data and make it organized. So there is a little uploader package that you can put on each of the grapes that once a day uploads its observations. You can upload multiple times per day, but it really doesn't buy you that much. We have a few people who are running magnetometers. There's a little upload package for that. Some people upload as often as every 15 minutes. It uses a mirroring system, so it only uploads those files that have not already gone up, doesn't reload them. And we did get a lot of great data from the October 2023 annual eclipse. If you'd like to take a look at this website, it's up here, pswsnetwork.caps.ua.edu. CAPS stands for Center for Advanced Public Safety. Originally, this was part of the computer science department at University of Alabama, and then it was spun off to be under engineering. Now it's part of the Alabama Transportation Institute, which is part of the university's engineering program. So currently we're getting data from about 77 TAPR magnetometers, about 35 Grape 1 DRF stations, and about 15 RX888 stations. Those collect a very wide bandwidth, and it's downsampled to be compatible with the Grape 1 DRF system. And the website is in production, is continuously being improved. Here is an architecture overview for anyone who is not familiar with it. Oh, come on. Here we go. Here's your typical Grape 1 DRF station. This one happens to have a magnetometer hanging off of it and a GPS discipline oscillator. It connects to the system through the internet. The RX888 receiver works similarly to that. It has a B-Link PC. It's a small, full-blown, like a desktop, except in a very small form factor. And some people just have a magnetometer hanging off of a Raspberry Pi. Each of these has a Raspberry Pi in the middle of it and uploading to our server. Here is a typical shot of the layout of the stations. These are the stations that we have located in the North America. There is one station in Europe, in the Netherlands, and hopefully we'll get some more stations in the Netherlands, in Europe, I should say. And the stations in the US are monitoring, for the most part, WWV. The RX888s can also observe CHU, and I think the station in Netherlands is observing CHU. And so all of those upload on a regular basis. Typically, one day is one observation. So the green stations are ones that have uploaded data within the last 24 hours. If you see one in yellow, the last time it uploaded was more than 24 hours ago, but less than a week ago. If it goes more than a week without an upload, it turns to red. There are a number of people who have signed up for accounts and established stations, but haven't ever uploaded anything. Those aren't shown because it would show a whole bunch of basically listeners who are not uploading anything. No need to clutter the map with those. So that is the color code. If you hit this button up here that says observations, you'll get something like this. This is a list of the observations sorted with the most recent stuff at the top. If there is a green ball here, it indicates that there is a plot of the data. For each a spectrum data pack, we create a plot that shows the spectrum and the signal strength for a given day. For those stations that are running multiple bands at the same time, which is all the RX888s, and I'm sure the new Grape 2 stations will work the same way. We'll do the plots of all of the different bands and then lay them out for you to see. So there is the observation. If you want to take a closer look at this, well, if you want to take if you look at the plot or you want to take a closer look at the data, you hit that. You know there's a plot if you got a green ball there. And here is where you go next. You can download the observation data. If you would like to work with the digital RF data directly, there is software available in GitHub to allow you to download, to take one of those data sets apart and work with it directly if you like. If you want to load just the plot, the PNG file, you hit that and it'll download that to you. And here is a typical plot. This is from a single station. This is W0ECC. And you can see it was one of the 10 megahertz stations. Here is your spectrogram. And here is your signal strength indicator, the peak signal strength for each minute. So there's basically a one minute sample in each of these. So now, how can you use this? Well, recently, this is just a couple of days ago, this was on the 18th of this month, just a couple of days ago, there was, the sun spat out a solar flare which impinged upon North America, specializing in hitting the West Coast. And this just came off of spaceweather.com. So I went and took a look at a few of the plots from that time. It apparently hit at 1918 was the peak of it. So here is a plot from KJ6 MKI located in California. You can see where right at that point the signal strength drops off to nothing, and you can see what it did to the spectrum. You can also, from this, you can observe the recovery time from the 10 megahertz station. We see this also in 15 megahertz, and you can observe that the recovery time on 15 megahertz is much quicker. And so you can compare what a solar flare does band to band at a given station for those stations that are collecting multiple bands. And here you see a little bit of effect of it even on 20 megahertz. But you see 20 megahertz was not impacted as much as the other frequencies. So that allows us to study and prepare for what we're going to do when various things come from the sun our way. There is some planned new functionality which we're getting ready to roll out, dealing with the magnetometers. Our colleagues at NJIT, one of Dr. Hyominkin's graduate students, developed a first prototype on this, and we're working on trying to integrate that into our system. It's a magnetometer comparison tool where you can bring up a list of all those stations that are running magnetometers, click on the ones that you want to compare, and then bring up, it'll allow us to bring up multiple different magnetometer readings. Once again, an observation we typically define as 24 hours worth of data. I have challenged the students who are working on this, see if you can also allow people to select one or more U.S. Geological Survey magnetometer data to bring them up. Now, these magnetometers are not expensive. Tapper designed and built them, and to me, it's remarkable. It's just maybe $100 to get one of these up and running, and I'm about halfway between the USGS station at New Orleans and the one in Fredericksburg, Virginia, and you put those two plots and put a plot of our data in the middle, and it's almost exactly in between. So it's remarkable how well we do with these relatively inexpensive devices. The magnetometer data, you don't need digital RF or anything to work with it. You can download it and put it into Excel, and then just use plotting functions. So if you're interested in working on or having an account, the way it works is go to pswsnetwork.caps.ua.edu. You sign up for an account. It's free. The only thing you have to do is provide a working email address so that we can verify that you exist and it's not a bot. And then you'll have an account which allows you to look at anything on the system. Everything on the system, all data that's collected is publicly available. There's no ITAR implications. There's none of that security business. Everything is public domain, as is all the software. So once you have an account, you can add one or more stations. There are a number of people who have stations in multiple places. My software is still a little bit crude. We have to do a version 2 on this, because if you're going to run multiple grapes, for example, in a single station, they need to be different stations, even if they're in the same location. But so be it. That's the way it is now. And then once you have created a station, you add one or more instruments to it. So under a station, you may add an instrument that's a grape. You may add an instrument that's a magnetometer. So this particular station would have 2 instruments on it, and each of those things upload upload to your account. So each person has their own data. But if you want to get to the data, you get to it through the website. And then if you have a grape or an RX 888, configure it to upload. The way that works is it uses LFTP to mirror your data of your observation up to the server, and when the mirroring is complete, it creates what we call a trigger directory, and there's this watchdog that notices, oh, there's a new trigger directory that's been created. It's a directory, but it serves no other purpose than to notify watchdog. Watchdog says, I know which the observation is because that's in the trigger name, and then it goes and gets the information, gets the metadata out of that file, puts that on the database. So now it's cross-references and then deletes that that trigger directory. So that's how the uploading works. So additional things we're planning to add, I just mentioned, we're going to put together a magnetometer analysis pack. What we have is, it works, but is not yet integrated into the main website. That's what we're going to do next. And by the way, I might mention on this, we're looking for input for people who want to look at magnetometer data on what this thing should do. Right now, all it will do is it'll just throw a few plots up there and you can look at them. Challenge the students, see if we can add U.S. Geological Survey results to it and compare those as well. But if anybody has any ideas on what this magnetometer data analysis package should do, please let me know, and we'll see if we can put it in our list of things to do.
I'll solve that.
Okay. We're planning to add notification to users when their station goes offline, so you don't necessarily have to check it every day. Planning support for the Grape 2, and some things that are in the dreaming stage, wideband data collection network. We need a lot of storage for that, so we're trying to figure out what to do on that. One of the way you could do a wideband data collection system would be to have a local 10 terabyte ring buffer and then just request a user to upload when there's an interesting event. So we got an interesting coronal mass ejection. Let's upload the entire days, which could probably be something like 8 gigabytes or something. So we're looking at how to deal that. And distributed data analysis system. Try and avoid having people to send enormous packages of data through their internet connection. Now, someday, everybody will have fiber, gigabit up and down, and then every computer will have 100 terabytes. And I mean, someday we'll get to the point where we can do all this centrally, but today it's got to be distributed. So to use observations, you click on an observation of interest, and you can download it, and that will show up in your download directory. Unzip the file and run your data analysis. So here's a typical magnetometer output, and comparing. The upper one was done in Excel. The lower one is our plotting package. And so you can see a little bit of correlation between the magnetometer results and what you see in your Doppler. So maybe that is tied together. Who knows? That's something for scientific analysis. So to get involved, please join us Monday night, telco every week at 9 p.m., 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern, and then Thursday afternoon telco every other week for science discussions. All under the rubric of HamSCI. So, okay, that's I hope I didn't run over too much. That's my presentation. Do we have any time for questions?
I don't think so.
Okay, we'll just back to net.